Apollo 11, the greatest odyssey of mankind. Prologue, the audacious vow. The story of Apollo 11 does not begin in a rocket ship. It begins in the halls of power, amidst the crushing anxiety of the Cold War. The year was 1961. The world was divided into two armed camps, the United States and the Soviet Union. For years, the Americans had watched with a mixture of awe and terror as the Soviets claimed victory after victory in the final frontier. They had launched Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, and they had sent Yuri Gagarin, the first human, to orbit the Earth. America was losing the space race, and morale was at rock bottom. On May 25, 1961, President John F. Kennedy stood before a joint session of Congress and made a promise that seemed scientifically impossible at the time. He didn't ask for a better rocket or a new satellite. He threw down a gauntlet to history. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. At the time Kennedy spoke those words, NASA had not even invented the spacesuits required for a moonwalk. They didn't know if the lunar surface was solid rock or deep dust that would swallow a ship whole. They didn't know how to dock two spacecraft in motion. To achieve this, America had to mobilize 400,000 people, scientists, engineers, seamstresses, mathematicians, and factory workers. It was the greatest peacetime mobilization in human history, all focused on one singular glowing point in the night sky. By 1969, the machine was ready, but the question remained, were the men? Chapter 1, The Chariot and the Knights. It is July 1969. At the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, the heat is already rising from the swamps, but all eyes are fixed on Launchpad 39A. Standing there is the Saturn V, a machine that defies description. It is a skyscraper filled with explosives, 363 feet tall, weighing 6.5 million pounds. It is, to this day, the most powerful machine ever built by human hands. Inside the command module, sitting atop this beast, are three men chosen from the elite of the elite. Neil Armstrong, the commander, a 38-year-old civilian test pilot, quiet, enigmatic, and possessing nerves of steel. He was known as the Ice Commander. He wasn't chosen for his ego, but for his ability to make split-second decisions when everything went wrong. Edwin Buzz Aldrin, the lunar module pilot, an intellectual powerhouse with a PhD in orbital mechanics from MIT. He was intense and technically brilliant, the man who understood the geometry of space better than anyone. Michael Collins, the jovial, easygoing navigator. His role was perhaps the most psychologically difficult. He would fly the main ship around the moon while the other two walked on the surface. On the morning of July 16th, the astronauts ate the traditional breakfast of steak and eggs, low-residue food to ensure they wouldn't need the bathroom during the launch. They suited up, took the elevator up the Red Tower, and strapped into their couches. At 9:32 a.m., the engines ignited. The sound was not heard, it was felt. It rattled the rib cages of spectators miles away. With 7.6 million pounds of thrust, the Saturn V clawed its way through the thick Florida air. Inside, the astronauts were pinned to their seats by G-forces, their hearts pounding against the roar. Within 12 minutes, they were in orbit. The engine reignited for the TLI, trans-lunar injection. They broke free of Earth's gravity. The blue planet began to shrink in their windows until it was just a marble suspended in the dark. They were no longer Earthlings. They were travelers of the void. Chapter 2, The Silent Crossing. The journey to the moon took 3 days. It was a time of strange calm sandwiched between moments of extreme violence. The spacecraft, the Columbia, coasted through the emptiness of space. To keep the sun from overheating one side of the ship, they put the craft into a slow rotation, a maneuver called the barbecue roll. Life inside was cramped. The air smelled of sterilized equipment and faintly of each other. They listened to music tapes, ate freeze-dried shrimp cocktails, and broadcast live TV shows to the people back home. But the mood was focused. Every switch flip, every course correction was calculated. On July 19th, the moon loomed large in their windows. It was no longer a light in the sky. It was a terrifyingly large sphere of gray, scarred by billions of years of cosmic violence. Armstrong described it as a wash of gray. They fired their service engine to slow down, allowing the moon's gravity to capture them. They were now in lunar orbit. The Earth was rising over the lunar horizon, a blue jewel contrasting against the dead monochrome craterscape below. Chapter 3. The Eagle Has Wings. The morning of July 20th, 1969, the day that would change everything. Armstrong and Aldrin floated through the tunnel into the lunar module named Eagle. It was a spindly, spider-like contraption with walls so thin you could almost punch through them. This was the vehicle that would take them down. Michael Collins remained in Columbia. He pressed the button to release the latches. The Eagle drifted away. "The Eagle has wings," Armstrong radioed. "See you later," Collins replied, watching his friends disappear into the blackness. He was now alone in orbit. The Eagle fired its descent engine. They began to fall toward the moon. This was the most dangerous part of the mission, a controlled crash from 50,000 feet. Chapter 4. 12 Minutes of Terror. In Houston, Mission Control was a pressure cooker. Flight Director Gene Kranz, wearing his lucky white vest, paced the floor. The room was silent, save for the crackle of static and the voices of the controllers. As the Eagle descended, the radio signal began to cut in and out. The data on the screens in Houston flickered. They were losing telemetry. Then suddenly, a yellow master alarm light flashed in the Eagle's cockpit. "Program alarm," Armstrong called out, his voice tense. "It's a 1202. A 1202 alarm? The astronauts hadn't seen this in training. The computer was screaming that it was overloaded. It was trying to process too much data at once. The onboard computer, which had less processing power than a modern pocket calculator, was on the verge of crashing. If the computer crashed, the Eagle would lose guidance and tumble out of control. "Give us a reading on the 1202 program alarm," Armstrong demanded. In Houston, a 26-year-old computer specialist named Steve Bales had seconds to decide. He realized the computer was skipping non-essential tasks to keep the engine running. As long as the alarm didn't happen constantly, they were okay. "We're go on that alarm," Bales said. "Capcom, we're go on that alarm," relayed Charlie Duke, the capsule communicator. The mission continued, but the trouble wasn't over. Armstrong looked out the triangular window. The computer was guiding them toward a landing site, but it was all wrong. They were heading straight for a massive crater the size of a football stadium, filled with car-sized boulders. If they landed there, the Eagle would tip over or break a leg, stranding them on the moon forever. Armstrong made a critical decision. He switched off the automatic targeting and took manual control. He was now flying the spacecraft like a helicopter, skimming over the lunar surface, looking for a flat spot. But this maneuvering was burning fuel they didn't have to spare. 60 seconds, Charlie Duke called from Houston. This meant they had 60 seconds of fuel left before they had to abort. An abort at this altitude was risky. The top half of the ship would have to blast off, while the bottom half fell to the moon. Armstrong remained silent. His eyes were scanning the ground. He saw a clearing. 30 seconds, Duke called. The tension in Houston was suffocating. Some controllers were blue in the face from holding their breath. Dust began to streak radially outward, kicked up by the rocket engine. "Contact light," Aldrin called out as the probes hanging from the landing pads touched the surface. "Engines stop." The Eagle settled with a thud. The engine shut down. The silence that followed was heavy and absolute. Armstrong keyed his mic. "Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." In Houston, pandemonium erupted. Charlie Duke, wiping sweat from his brow, stammered into the mic. "Roger, Tranquility, we copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot." Chapter 5. One Small Step. It was late afternoon in the United States, but on the moon, the sun was blazing. The astronauts spent several hours preparing the ship for emergency.